Welcome to the stream. Let me know if the music is too loud or if my voice is too low. Gameweek 30 deadline is tomorrow. Let me know if you have any questions ahead of the next deadline. We'll probably try to be live 2 hours ahead of the deadline tomorrow, but I think that there are a lot of wildcards being played this game week, so let me know if you have any questions about your wildcard, captaincy, or anything else. Game of wildcard 30 locked in, Saka straight into the team. I think that probably after the comments from Arteta, I think it makes sense to go early on Saka. Not sure if he'll start, but at least he'll get some minutes. Said he was ready to play, so considering that Arsenal most probably will have a double game week, I think that bringing in Saka and saving that transfer is a really good option. I think that I probably would have had Saka on a wildcard if I played my wildcard this game week. FPL FOMO, thanks for joining in. 2 free transfers, probably doing a Wood to Mateta. It's like happening. I think that selling Chris Wood to bring in Mateta really makes sense this game week. Will be a really popular move, of course. Chris Wood, one of the most sold assets ahead of game week 30. Marmoush is actually the player that's most popular when we consider transfers in. Close to 500k transfers in the ahead of this game week, but bringing in Mateta, considering that Crystal Palace will probably have a double game week in game week 32, then a new double game week in double game week 33. I think it makes sense. They already, and I knew that at some point I would want Mateta in, but it is what it is. Hopefully Crystal Palace can deliver defensively. and hopefully SA can start getting some FPL returns as well. It's looked good recently. Good stats, passes the eye test, so hopefully SA can deliver. There will probably be some huge swings this game week. I think that most of the players that are playing their wildcard will probably go for a team without Mo Salah. And those who have him in their team will captain him. So I think there will be some big swings. What's your reasoning for SA over SAR? It's basically down to set pieces and the fact that I watched the last couple of Crystal Palace games before I played my wildcard in game week 28. And I think that he was a bit unlucky. While SAR maybe on the other hand had a bit more luck. So SA in that period he actually had a better XG than SAR. It was from game week 25 to 28, something like that. But of course, SAR he has done really well recently, so better price as well. So I think if I had to pick between the two of them at this point, I will probably just save the money and go for SAR. But I really like SA, and I believe that he can do well going forward. I would buy Marmouche too, but I have no ships left, so I want to save transfers if I can. Yeah. I think that saving transfers at this point could be really, really valuable. We know that some teams will blank in blank game week 34. We know that they most probably will have 2 games in double game week 33. But at the same time, we know that some of those teams will reach the FA Cup final as well. So there will be more blanks and doubles coming up. So having a couple of free transfers to bring in players with the best fixtures could potentially mean more points and a strong end to this season. Really tough season for me personally. Been on the wrong side of a lot of 50-50 decisions. It's like, of course, every season you make some bad calls and wrong decisions, stuff like that, 50-50 decisions going against you. But I think that this season, most of my close calls have been wrong. So, especially considering the swing between Mo Salah and Haaland. Will be kind of typical if Haaland really is injured and will miss a couple of games now that I finally brought him in a couple of game weeks. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest, FPL FOMO. Apparently Haaland will be out for most of the remaining games of the season, according to Fabrizio Romano. As mentioned, it wouldn't really surprise me, to be honest. So I thought about the Haaland injury, and if we get the confirmation that he is actually out for more than 2 game weeks, I will probably just sell Haaland to bring in Watkins. They will have a double. In game week 33, so Game off, I have Gabriel in my team, but tempted to go Timber for differential. I think that if you're on a wild card, I think that Timber probably is a decent punt, especially if you're chasing and want a couple of differentials. Gabriel is well owned. I would probably leave a spot open for Saka. As you mentioned, you already have Saka in your team, so makes sense to target Saka after Arteta's comments, and I think that Timber probably is a decent punt as well. So if you bring in Saka for game week 30, you might only get 20-30 minutes, but at least you'll have him ready for double game week 33. There will be a lot of managers bringing him in for that game week, so at least you can save that transfer. Maybe bring in another asset from one of the other teams with a double. Maybe start preparing for blank game week 34 if you haven't saved your free hit chip. So there are a lot of opportunities going forward. As mentioned, I think that game week 30 will be a game week with big swings. As mentioned, Mo Salah is still one of the most trusted players in the game and will probably be one of the most captain players, even though he's playing against Everton. So a lot of wildcarders will probably not have him. But one thing is that if Haaland is actually out, then a lot will probably just stick with Mo Salah. So at the moment, I actually think that the Haaland injury actually is a bit boring, makes it a bit easier to pick your team on a wildcard, probably. To check out the latest on Haaland. Might, if FPL FOMO, if we get confirmed news about Haaland, might actually sell him ahead of game week 30. Don't really want to have a player with that price on my bench. My bench cover this game week isn't the best. Neto, Chelsea, playing against Spurs, could be decent, but don't really fancy him going forward, to be honest. So Romano posting on X that Haaland is set to miss most of the final part of the season due to ankle injury. Haaland expected to be fit in time to play a further part in final stages, including the Club World Cup. After initial tests today, Haaland will seek specialist consultation. There is actually an update from the official Man City account as well. Let's have a look at that one. Man City can confirm Haaland has suffered an injury to his left ankle. The Norwegian striker sustained an injury during Sunday's FA Cup quarter-final victory against Bournemouth. Haaland underwent initial tests in Manchester on Monday morning and will now seek specialist consultation to confirm the full extent of the injury. Assessment remains ongoing. Yeah, so it's probably a good call to just sell Haaland. Just thanks for joining. Good evening, everyone. News on Haaland is he will miss most of the run-in. Yeah, I just read the news. It was posted on X 16 minutes ago, so kind of late to the party, but I will probably sell Haaland. At 10 minutes ago, I talked about selling. If I were to sell Haaland, I will probably just go Watkins because of the fixtures. There will be a couple of decisions to make tomorrow, to be honest. I will not carry Haaland on my bench. FPL Diamond, like, share, subscribe, support your quality channel to continue to get brilliant content on a consistent basis. Really appreciate it. Thanks for joining in, FPL Diamond. FPL FOMO official Man City site is saying they hope Haaland is back before the end of the season. Yeah, just read that. But even though if he's out for just 2 game weeks, I think at that price it's worth using a transfer to bring in other options, to be honest. What's your chip strategy going forward? My chip strategy is to probably use my triple captain in game week 32, Alexander Isak, and then bench boost the next game week in game week 33. Charlie, thanks for joining in. Christian, Ashley, evening guys and girls. Thanks for joining in. We just received news about Haaland. He will probably be out for some game weeks. Can potentially be back and play the last couple of game weeks, but I think that for Haaland owners, it's the right decision is probably to sell him, to spread and use the money in other ways. So my first thought is to sell Haaland and bring in Watkins. I will probably upgrade Neto as well. Do you think Marmoush is essential now? Yes, I think that he is a really, really good option. Essential, I'm not sure because we're not 100% sure if he is on penalties, but I think that Marmoush, I nailed on Marmoush for City if he is on penalties. I think that at that price is as close as you can get to essential. So my bad luck is continuing. I started the season with Mo Salah and no Haaland, and actually sold Mo Salah when he started scoring. I brought in Haaland, who started blanking, and now I took the punt on a team with Haaland and no Salah, and all of a sudden Haaland gets injured. Will Marmoush be on penalties or someone else? I think that he probably will be, but I'm not really sure, to be honest. They have a couple of other potential candidates to take their penalties. Yeah, Gundogan being one of them. Gundogan was actually rumored to be on penalties for Germany in the Euros, but it sounds like Gundogan is playing every minute. De Bruyne is not that good at penalties, even though he is a set-piece king, so I think that Marmoush is a good shout when we consider Man City's penalties for the next at least 3 to 4 game weeks. I think this is actually a huge advantage for those on wildcard. Getting the news about Haaland tonight makes it quite easy to just bring in Marmoush and spread the Haaland funds. I think most will have a front line of Alexander Isak, Marmoush. Probably Watkins will be a bit more popular going forward, considering that they will have a double in game week 33. The Haaland injury is actually bad news for us who already had wildcard 30 active. Now a lot more will do the same. Yeah. There will be a lot of wildcards after this news. I think that those who wanted to wait until game week 31 will probably just push the button this game week, so there will be a lot of wildcards, but I still like my team. I used my wildcard in game week 28, so if I played my wildcard this game week, I would not have Haaland. I would probably not have Mbumo, so Marmoush, Alexander Isak and Mateta will be the ownership of that front three will be huge heading into game week 30. So maybe for me, considering that I'm not really satisfied with my rank, maybe a Crystal Palace defensive double up is the differential I need. Of course, I like Mateta, so I would probably just pick him if I was on a wildcard. I guess Marmoush will still be a strong pick regardless of the penalties. I might end up getting him due to the Haaland news. I think that it has to be considered FPL FOMO. Now we know that Haaland will be out. Marmoush will probably play up front for Man City. What Newcastle defender will you get for the double? I think that the safest is probably Dan Burn. Great value as well. But I'm tempted, and especially if I sell Haaland, I will look at the possibility to bring in Trippier. And I will monitor the news regarding Gordon as well. My plan when I played my wildcard in gameweek28 was to sell Neto or Mbumo to bring in Anthony Gordon next game week, but Gordon is not fit, so waiting for more updates on Anthony Gordon. Hopefully we'll get some concrete news ahead of game week 31. So the safe option from Newcastle is Dan Burn. The punt is Trippier if you have the funds. The positive about the Haaland injury is that it will be easier for me to bring in Saka. Of course, if I sell Haaland to bring in Watkins, I can do Mbumo to Saka. I have 2 free transfers. I have 1 million. FPL FOMO, I think I will have Trippier for the double with Gordon, Murphy, and Isaac plus Munoz, Henderson, Mateta. Yeah. I will probably have something similar, but of course I've already triple up on Crystal Palace. I had to make some choices on my game week 28 wildcard. I only have limited free transfers, so I decided, because Crystal Palace had a really good game against Ipswich in game week 28, so I decided to just triple up on Crystal Palace, take advantage of that good fixture. Kind of worked out because Henderson, he actually delivered in game week 28 with 10 points, but we knew that Crystal Palace and Mateta was injured for that game week, so that's the reason why I have those other Crystal Palace assets in my team at the moment. I only have Alexander Isak from Newcastle, so I kind of decided to just triple up on Crystal Palace and then use my free transfers to bring in Newcastle players. Another positive for me, if I decide to triple up on Newcastle as well, is that they will have a game in blank game week 34. So if I use my transfers to bring in a triple up on Newcastle, I will probably have enough players to survive in blank game week 34, so I can save my free hit to double game week 36. Hard to see Saka starting this week despite Arteta saying he's ready to start. Yeah, I talked about this at the start of the stream as well, FPL FOMO. I can't really see Saka starting. Really positive comments from Arteta, but I think that Arteta saying that Saka probably will start is the same. We can translate that to he will be on the bench. So if I make a transfer this game week, it will probably be Haaland to Watkins, and I will save the other transfer and probably do Neto or Mbumo to Saka. Ralph Sutton, thanks for joining in. Hey TFS, who do you think will score more points this game week, Mateta or Marmouche? I'm gonna wildcard next week and have them both, but I need to bring one of them in this week to replace Wood. Of course, both really good options. Not much between them, to be honest. So if I had to pick one of them this game week, it would probably be Mateta, playing against the weakest defense in the league, and we know that he is on penalties as well. We know that Glesner said that Mateta and SA will share penalties, but I think that Mateta is first in line, to be honest. So in isolation, I would pick Mateta for game week 30, but both of them, of course, really, really good options. So it might be the other way around as well. Really hard call. Of course, we know Marmoush is like one of those players that if he has a good start to the game, he can get a hat trick. As we saw back in game week, was it like 26, 25, 26, something like that? And of course, playing for a really, really good team at home against Leicester, I think it's a tough decision. But if I had to pick one of them, it would probably be Mateta. Trippier, I won't, but he's so 50%. The thing with Trippier is that his fitness has not been the best this season. I think his ownership is below 5%, isn't it? Let's have a quick look. Trippier, I just had him up 3.7. So I think that Trippier is a really good differential. We know that he is on set pieces, and if he can find some form, he will probably do well in the run-in. We can't really be sure if he'll play both games in the double game week, but at least Lewis Hall is definitely injured. So if Trippier can find some form and stay away from small injuries, then he's probably a really, really good option for double game week 32. We know that Newcastle, they will not have a double in double game week 33, but at least they will have a game in blank game week 34. So my plan going forward is to... The plan is still to play the triple captain on Alexander Isak in double game week 32. I really like Newcastle's pictures for that game week, playing at home twice against Man United and Crystal Palace. So I think that if Alexander Isak looks good in game week 30 and 31, I think that he is close to locked in as my triple captain this season for their double in 32. Tempted to play the bench boost in game week 33. So of course I'm losing a free transfer. I use my wildcard in game week 28 with a plan. I have to use an extra transfer to sell Haaland. Of course, kind of frustrating, but it has to be done, especially after the news coming out tonight about him most probably missing the next couple of game weeks. So I still think that I will play my bench boost in game week 33, and hopefully I can save my free hit all the way until game week 36. There will potentially be a double game week 36, so having the free hits for that game week could potentially be valuable. So If I decide to go for this strategy, I will triple up on Newcastle ahead of game week 32, and this will give me a decent team for blank game week 34, so I can potentially save my free hit if I don't get any more injuries like the Haaland injury, of course. But that's the rough plan at the moment. You see, in the captain pool, Salah, he is actually the favorite. Salah 70%, Haaland, of course, he will probably not get any votes tonight. 0% for Haaland, 0 for Alexander Isak as well. Someone else 30. So 7 votes for Salah and 3 for someone else. Please let me know in the comments who is that someone else. At the moment, my captaincy is on Marmoush. I think that he has become an even better option after the news we got 30 minutes ago about Haaland most probably being injured for most of the season. So on the official X account, Man City, they just posted about Haaland. He will probably miss most of the remainder of the season, but he could be back for the last couple of game weeks. Charlie, what do you think of Foden and Watkins? I actually like Watkins and Aston Villa's fixtures, so Watkins will probably be my Haaland replacement. I will have a think about it tomorrow morning before the deadline stream. So my initial thought is to sell Haaland to bring in Watkins, and this will give me enough funds to get Saka for game week 31. So that's my initial thought, as mentioned, but I'm not that keen on Foden, to be honest. I've actually had Foden twice this season. Haven't really done anything for me so far. And if I were to pick a midfielder from Man City, at this point I would probably go Savinho and invest the funds elsewhere. So my team for game week 32 could potentially be something like Marmoush, Watkins, Isak, and Bumo to a Newcastle mid, and we'll probably get rid of Anderson as well and bring in Trippier. I really like Mateta, so if you have a free Crystal Palace spot, I would probably just get Mateta in, but I'm not going to sell one of my Crystal Palace assets to bring in Mateta. We'll just stick with my triple up, and hopefully they can match or even outscore Mateta. I have to take a couple of punts. Mateta, he will be so heavily selected on wildcards in game week 30 and game week 31. So let's have a quick look at his ownership at the moment. It's only 7.6, but when we get to game week 32 and Crystal Palace double, it will probably be above 20% ownership for Mateta. I was kind of surprised to see that Mateta's ownership is only 7.6. Of course, the fact that he missed game week 28 and Crystal Palace, they had a blank in 29 as well. So, of course, this cost a lot of sales for Mateta. So, that's probably the reason why he's only selected by 7.6. So, he will be a big differential. So, if I was on game week 30 wildcard, Mateta, he would definitely be in my team. I got a question. Who would you pick, Marmoush or Mateta, if you only had to pick one of them? And it would probably be Mateta, to be honest. Good evening. Would you wildcard this week or wait until 31 for more info? It says probably depends on your team, the boring answer. But if you have a solid team for game week 30, the best option is probably to wait. We will probably have the confirmation on the postponed fixtures in blank game week 34 ahead of game week 31. So if your team is strong enough, if you don't have injuries, stuff like that, I think that it's probably a good idea to just stick with your team for game week 30 and then wildcard in game week 31. One of the reasons why I would play my wildcard if you don't have any Crystal Palace players, then it kind of depends on how many free transfers you have as well. But I think that there are some good arguments for just playing the wildcard this game week as well. We know that there are some teams that most probably will have a double in game week 33. We know that Crystal Palace and Newcastle will have a double in game week 32. So we have a lot of information. We know that Crystal Palace, Man City, Aston Villa and Arsenal, they will most probably have 2 fixtures in game week 33. So of course, information is really valuable, but if your team needs it, I think that it's not really a wrong decision to pull the trigger tonight, to be honest. Probably think that if you have Haaland, that's probably a reason to play your wildcard this game week, to like use the funds to upgrade in other areas as well. Another reason to wait is, of course, I'm not sure if Saka will start, but I definitely would want Saka ahead of game week 31. I can't see Saka playing 15 to 20 minutes in game week 30, so there are good arguments for both game week 30 and game week 31 wildcards. So top 3 anytime goal scorer Haaland, he is on top. We know at this point that he probably is out, so I think that Marmouche's odds probably has become a bit better after the Haaland news. You can see that the graphics actually haven't updated when we take a look at top 3 for clean sheets and anytime goal scorer. I'll need to fix that before my deadline stream tomorrow. But top 3 transfers in Marmouche, Bruno Fernandes, and Alexander Isak. He is third. I think that Bruno Fernandes, it's a bit surprising to see that he is the second most transferred in player. Tough fixture for Man United, playing away against Nottingham Forest. I know they played and had to play 120 minutes in the FA Cup, but still think that it's a tough fixture for Man United, but it's probably mostly due to his returns against Leicester in blank game week 20. Trent, of course, injured. Wood as well, one of the most transferred in players for the last 5 game weeks. Chris Wood, injured for New Zealand, will probably miss out in game week 30. So it makes sense to sell Chris Wood. We know that they will at some point have a double game week, but it will most probably not be in double game week 33. Cole Palmer, most sold player. Really frustrating asset. And for the owners that kept faith in Cole Palmer, they have been disappointed and let down a couple of times already this season. Alexander Isak, one of the most transferred in players as well. Decent fixture in game week 30, playing at home against Brentford. We know that Newcastle, they have a double game week coming up in game week 32. So Salah is still the favorite. As mentioned, there will probably be some huge swings in game week 30. It will be a really interesting game week. A lot of wildcards will be played. I think that it's probably a bit boring that Haaland actually got injured, because not that I have him, but I think that teams will be quite similar for those using their wildcard. Christian Ashley, Marmouche captain for me. Yeah, I have Marmouche captain at the moment as well. Had captaincy on Marmouche before we got the Haaland news, so we'll probably just stick with Marmouche, but There are arguments for going Alexander Isak as well. Really good fixture for SA. I think that if you have Mateta, that would be really tempting to captain him as well. Decent fixture for Bournemouth and Cloyford. So I think, as mentioned, that there will be some huge swings in game week 30. Will be an interesting game week for sure. And I will set up a deadline stream ahead of the deadline. Will be a couple of hours before the deadline. It's 6:15. We'll try to go live 2 hours before the deadline. So hopefully we'll have some more information. I will update the graphics when we consider the injuries and the anytime goal scorer, top 3 for clean sheets, and the transfers in. Not sure if I'll make any adjustments to the watch list. Still think that the players on the watch list in those graphics they are actually still pretty decent. So if you need a new defender, Munoz, Guardiol and Gabriel, makes sense to target those players. Savinho in midfield, I like him as a punt. SA, Sar, not much between them, to be honest. I like SA, but on a wildcard, if you can make upgrades elsewhere, then going for Sar and save the funds probably makes sense as well. Marmoush, a really good option. Alexander Isak, I think that he is a must-own for double game week 32, so if you don't have him already, it makes sense to bring him in, and the same goes for Mateta. If you don't have triple up from Crystal Palace already, Mateta is actually a no-brainer at this point. It's really good fixture in game week 30 as well, playing against Southampton away. So actually a decent captain option for the next game week. Thanks for joining in. Short Q&A tonight. As mentioned, we'll set up a deadline stream tomorrow, so hopefully you find the time to join that one as well. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel for more FPL content. I post a weekly team selection video ahead of each deadline. I try to do a Q&A the night before each deadline, and I do deadline streams most of the game weeks, but on Saturdays I don't always have the time. But as it's a Tuesday deadline this game week, I will be able to have set up a deadline stream ahead of the deadline. So hopefully I'll see you there. Is Sar an option? Definitely Sar is a really good option. Decent value as well. Reasonably priced, really good stats. Passes the eye test as well. The reason why I went for SA is that I think that it's probably worth the upgrade, but of course Sar, he has outscored him. I was 50-50 when I picked my wildcard team in game week 28. Went for SA, but Sar, he was Sar is the one who has got most points for the last couple of game weeks, but both really good option. I think that it's really close between them, but probably Sar due to the value. I picked SA because in game week 28 we knew that Mateta was injured, so SA, he was on penalties. We didn't really know that Mateta would come back for game week 30. He was a big doubt, horrible injury. So that was one of the things that actually made me go SA ahead of Sar, but now that Mateta is back, I think that probably Sar is the better option, to be honest. FPL FOMO, like and subscribe. Thanks. I actually made a video. It was 1 week ago about the blanks and the doubles, which gave me a decent amount of new subscribers. So if you watch this after watching that video, thanks for watching, and of course thanks for subscribing. Christian, Ashley, agree on the SAR versus yeah, I think that SAR probably is the better option, especially now with Mateta back and SA most probably off penalties. So I'm not satisfied at the moment with my Crystal Palace triple up. I really like Mateta. I really like SAR, but hopefully they can keep a clean sheet so my double defense of Henderson and Munoz can deliver, and of course hopefully SA can start getting some FPL points as well. He looked really good recently. We know that he is on corners, free kicks, most set pieces for Crystal Palace, but hopefully he can start being more effective, not just putting up good numbers when we consider the stats. So if you find the time, join in tomorrow on the deadline stream. So if not, best of luck for game week 30 and have a nice week, and hopefully all of us can get green arrows for game week 30. Looks like we're dropping in price tonight. Alexander Isak, Mateta, and Marmoush rising. And there are a lot of transfer activity at the moment. I think that there will be a lot of Haaland out tomorrow, especially if FPL change his status to red after the official Man City X account posted about him missing game week 30. So let's have a quick look at FPL statistics, my preferred page to check for price rises. As we can see in this, 5 players looks likely to rise. It's Mateta, Alexander Isak, Marmoush, Guardiol, and Kirkis. Chris Wood almost certain to drop in price. He's at close to 110%. Daniel Malin as well. Not really sure when. It's like those players with that low ownership, it's more of a 50-50 if they drop or not. But Chris Wood, he looks set for a drop in price, so he will be 7.2 before the game week 30 deadline, most probably. I'll make sure to upgrade the graphics ahead of the deadline stream tomorrow, but if you find time, join in. Thanks for joining in tonight, and have a nice evening.